today's topic for editorial discussion is with respect to semiconductors. So, Semiconductor Fab and Unfinished Agenda, that is what the title of this article is. So, what this article deals with is that it talks about semiconductor industries and what India has taken, what are the initiatives that India has taken in order to boost semiconductor production, recent ones and much later ones, and all these things this discusses and gives us some suggestions on how India can boost or further their agenda of the improvements in the semiconductor industry. So, that is what this semiconductor fab deals with. So, what is a fab? Fab is nothing but an factory or industrial unit that produces technologies, critical technologies such as the semiconductors. Fab is nothing but a factory or an industrial setup that produces or manufactures such technologies, emerging technologies and all things. That is what a fab basically means. And yes, we will see what a semiconductor is and who is leading the market and why they achieve that position or how they achieve this position and what are the other mechanisms what India has to do and what are the challenges with India and all these things we will see. So, yes, so what is a semiconductor? So, semiconductor, as the name suggests, semi is something that semi is something that has half or in the between, it gives such a meaning, right. So, yes, semiconductors are things that are between, they do not have conductivity like conductors or they do not resist current such as resistors. So, this is what semiconductors are. Semiconductors are metals that have conductivity in between conductors and resistors. For example, take this silicon wafer. That is a very good semiconductor. We are talking about semiconductor here and we will move on to semiconductor chips. So, semiconductor, if you take the silicon wafer, it will in regular conditions, it will not conduct electricity, but when heated, when external heat is added to silicon, it conducts electricity. So, this is what semiconductor is. So, semiconductor's conductivity is, it depends on the environment in which it is placed in. So, semiconductor is a material whose conductivity is based on the environmental conditions. So, that is what semiconductors are. So, in recent times, semiconductors have been the talk of the town. In fact, a lot of emerging countries and a lot of other developed countries also, they have been indulged in semiconductor manufacturing or promoting or boosting their semiconductor industry, already present semiconductor industries, and all these things happen. So, you will see what are these semiconductor chips? What are these semiconductor chips? Semiconductor chips are nothing but microchips that use semiconductors to conduct electricity. So, that is what semiconductor chips in basic are. Semiconductor chips are used in various critical technologies, right, starting from our mobile phones and computers to other things like other higher level technologies, critical infrastructure and all these things, critical technology infrastructure, all these things, they are surrounded upon this one core concept or core circuit of semiconductor chips. So, semiconductor chips, this is the importance or utility of semiconductor chips. These are used in computers, these are used in everyday mobile phones, these are used in LED displays and gaming consoles. All these gaming consoles we have, right, Xbox, we have this PS5, PS4 and all these things, and all these electronic things, they are made up of this thing called the semiconductor chip. So, yes, we will see when it comes to semiconductor chips, there are two types of semiconductor chips. The first thing is logic and second one is memory. So, logic, what does logic semiconductor chip or logic chip means? The logic chip is a chip that that uses information to help electronics do tasks efficiently, that uses information to help electronics do their task efficiently or do their tasks, basically what they are designed to do. So, that is what a logic chip is. And as the name suggests, what is a memory chip? Memory chip is something that stores information within them. So, these are the two major types of semiconductor chips, logic chips that helps electronic devices to complete their tasks for which they have designed, and memory chips that store information. So, this is what are the major types of semiconductors. So, now who leads the semiconductor industry? And the entire globe, if we take the entire globe, the leading player when it comes to the semiconductor industry is China. So, China has been one of the major players of, if not the largest player of semiconductors industry. And why did that happen? Or how did China achieve such a position? So, how did China achieve such a position? So, yes, early to the market. Yes, at the around 20 years back, at the start of this millennium, around 2001 and 2 and all, China has indulged in semiconductor industry. All other countries also gradually they got into the market, but one of the earliest player was China. One of the earliest players was China. China that has given an edge over other players in the market. So early entry is one big thing that China used to exploit the semiconductor market, and the next thing is manufacturing capability and cost. So today's China is one of the largest manufacturer, largest players of the industry. And we all know the manufacturing capability of China, and China's rise to prominence also is backed or is supported by its manufacturing capability. And the other thing is that of the cost, manufacturing cost. They, in the initial stages, they had this low cost labor cost was very low, and they had skilled laborers, and all these things contributed to reducing the manufacturing cost, not only with respect to semiconductors but all manufacturing included. And in the case of semiconductors also, they had a lot of skilled laborers, trained, highly trained, 2001 and all. From that time they have been training people, and to current standards, Chinese laborers are one of the most efficient or most skilled laborers when it comes to the semiconductor markets. So yes, skilled laborers, and the manufacturing capability, we all know about the manufacturing capability of China, and they also use this labor intensive mechanisms to reduce cost. So yes, that is one thing. And one of the most important thing is market supremacy in REM. So we all know those REMs, right? REMs in sense rare earth minerals or rare earth metals. So that is what REMs are. REMs, yes, rare earth minerals, though they are not rare, they are termed as rare. China has been one of the largest players of rare earths. Even US is also lagging behind China when it comes to rare earth metals, and these rare earth metals, they play an important role in the semiconductor industry. For example, there are a lot of rare earths that are largely used while manufacturing semiconductors. So China's exploitation or large scale extraction and usage of rare earth metals has a direct proportion or is directly related to its rise in the semiconductor industry. So yes, that is one thing that has to be noted, and these are the major reasons of why China became a dominant player when it comes to the semiconductor industry. And moving on to why must India promote this thing? Why must India promote the semiconductor industry? And before getting into why India must promote this industry, we will see in recent times in the sense a couple of years back, around 2021 and all, we were faced with this semiconductor shortage. Recent times semiconductor has been the talk of the town, right? Why did that happen? It was because of the semiconductor shortage. And why did that shortage happen? There are various reasons to be cited for that change. So for example, it is basic economics. What happened was all these manufacturing industries were shut. And moreover, the entire country, the entire globe was under lockdown. Various restrictions amongst various countries, but on the whole, they were confined to their houses. They were confined to their homes. All manufacturers and all these economic activities, it was arrested, right? This is what happened. And when there is no demand, there will be no supply. When there is no production, there will be no supply. So this is what happened. So all these major players, like Samsung is one of the major players, it also Samsung is one of the major players when it comes to semiconductor industry, and it to a large scale reduced its production output or manufacturing output also when it comes to semiconductor industry. That is one thing that played a major role in making these semiconductors into such a shortage. So yes, that is one thing that has to be noted. And the other thing was, during this period, during the 2019, 20, 21, 22 period and all, the cryptos, they were very prominent in the global economy. Cryptocurrencies, a lot of countries adopted cryptos as their currencies and all. For example, El Salvador, all these countries accepted cryptos, and large scale crypto buying and selling in foreign countries, not in India but in foreign countries, that happened. So cryptos were in large scale demand. So to mine cryptos, we need a large scale technology equipments. So the technology that is needed for mining cryptocurrency is very high, and these technologies, at this base of all critical technologies, there is this thing called the semiconductor chip. So this is another thing that led to the shortage of semiconductor chips. Another thing is that lockdowns, we had COVID classes, online classes and work from home culture, and all these things what it did was it increased the demand on technology such as computers, laptops, tablets and mobile phones and smartphones and all these things. So, at the base of this also there is this small thing, small chip called as the semiconductor chip. So, these are the major reasons that can be attributed to the shortage of semiconductor chips in the global market that has been whose repercussions has been faced even today in 2023 also. So, yes, this is what the shortage is all about. And why must India promote semiconductor industry? So, when it comes to India, India is a major importer of semiconductors. We import from China, we import from Taiwan, we import from Korea and all these countries, we majorly import. So, by investing or promoting the semiconductor industry, we can reduce the import dependence that India has on other economies, especially that of China. It also has some strategic importance. So, we can reduce confrontations, we can reduce the semiconductor chips being used as a bargaining tool for China. So, yes, that can be reduced and import dependence and import bill can be reduced. That is one thing to be noted. And critical infrastructure and techs. As we have already seen that critical infrastructures like power transmission lines or other ICT technologies, all these things, they are built on these semiconductor chips. And India, yes, India is moving towards this thing called this goal, called Digital India and all these things. In order to have all these critical infrastructures in place and all these transmission and power lines in place, we all need these semiconductor chips, and it will be much better if these semiconductor chips are indigenously made in our domestic boundaries. So, yes, that is another thing that why India must promote this industry. And it also has a multiplier effect. And what is a multiplier effect? You must be investing in the semiconductor industry also has a multiplier effect when it comes to employment. Large scale employment can be witnessed. A lot of engineering graduates, especially in the EC departments and all, they tend to move to other non-core jobs or tend to move outside when it comes to core jobs. But by promoting this semiconductor industry, we can give core jobs to such engineers who are in search of job or those who are unemployed. So, that is one thing that that is a multiplier effect also. And another major thing is there are only few players. There is Germany, there is US, there is Taiwan, there is China. Only there are few players that can be counted easily with our fingers, 8 fingers and 2 thumbs. So, yes. So, very few players, and India can use this opportunity to become one of the prominent players, not a major player, yes, one of the prominent players in the industry. So, that is why India has to promote the semiconductor industry. So, now what has India done with respect to semiconductors? What are the programs or policies that India has when it comes to semiconductors? So, yes, recently 2022 India launched the semiconductor mission. So, this is not the first of the provisions. We have already had this design linked incentive scheme, we also had this spec scheme and all these things we had, and even on an earlier date we have two major initiatives regarding semiconductors. One is the 2007 special incentive package and another is the 2012 modified special incentive package. All these packages, they were focused on bringing semiconductor industry to prominence in India. We started early, like a lot of people, lot of experts, they criticize India for not exploring or not exploiting the demand that has been made in the semiconductor region, and they are criticizing India to be one of the last players of this market, that is citing this 2022 mission. But India has already made strides in the right direction, but it did not pan out. In 2007 itself they have introduced this special incentive package, and 2012 they have introduced this modified special incentive package, but this did not pan out due to a lot of reasons. So, let it be apart. It did not pan out for a lot of reasons. And yes, what are the challenges for India's market with respect to semiconductors? So, India has major challenges when it comes to semiconductors. And this semiconductor industry or semiconductor fabrication units or semiconductor fabs, they require heavy investments, not only with respect to manufacturing capability or marking, packaging, assembly, testing and all these things, but even for research and development. A major share of investments in the semiconductor industry or market goes into the research and development mobilization fund. So, yes, but that is one major thing. This particular industry, semiconductor industry, is highly capital intensive. It requires a lot of capital. Not that we don't have capital, but we have a lot of other things also that we have to focus on. And yes, that is one of the major challenges that India faces when it comes to semiconductor industry, that is heavy investments. And poor REM market. Yeah, we all know how how China came into prominence. That is by having market supremacy in rare earth metals. So India has a poor rare earth minerals market. So India did not exploit her REMs. And some reports say we have the fourth. Some reports say we have the fourth largest REM reserves, and some say we have the fifth largest REM reserves. But yes, we have a lot of REMs, or that is rare earth metals. And what we did was we did not exploit this REM, and nowadays we are trying to use this REMs, but on a different scale. Let it be apart. We are doing it on a different scale, on a much lower level only. We are trying to explore or use this rare earth metal. So poor REM market is another challenge for India in the semiconductor industry. Expensive fab setups. So yes, expensive fabs. We already seen there is high investments also with respect to R&Ds, and setting up an fabrication unit is also very expensive. It requires a lot of lands. It requires a lot of intensive technology. It is technology intensive, right? And there is a lot of possibilities that these technologies can go obsolete within a short period of time. So all these things, these require constant upgradation of technology and constant technology updates and all. So thus this semiconductor industry is expensive to set up. So that is the third challenge. And chip dilemma. And we have already seen that there are two major types of chips, that is the logic chip and microchip. So India has been faced with this challenge or this dilemma to manufacture which chip. Should we focus on the logic chips, or should we focus on the memory chip? So this is one dilemma that has been a challenge for India when it comes to the semiconductor industry. And now we will see what is the way forward, what can India do to promote its semiconductor industry. So yes, boost REM. We all know what REMs, how it helped China, and we have also seen it as a challenge for India's industry in the semiconductor field. Yes, by boosting REMs, we can have this ready element that are ready to be used in the semiconductor chip. So by boosting REM, we can boost our semiconductor industries. Yes. Another major thing, we are also dependent on China for these REMs, not only us but the entire globe. Joint partnership. Yes, joint partnership with other countries. Recently also India and US, they signed this ICET, Critical and Emerging Technology Initiative. Because all these things have happened. India can also focus on semiconductors when it comes to such technology partnership, not only with US but can also go with other countries like Germany, Netherlands, and all prominent players of Taiwan, for example, and all these prominent players of the semiconductor markets. Another challenge, another way forward is that by following ATMP and existing fabs. This is one point that India has to note. So how did China gain prominence is that it followed a gradualist approach. Gradualist approach instead, it did not rush into things. It started slowly from ATMPs, then went on to acquiring existing fabs, and then only it started establishing new fabs as greenfield projects. So this is what happened. So yes, India also must follow a gradualist stance. Setting up a new industry or setting up a new greenfield industry is just like taking a supercar and running it down the wall. So that is exactly what will happen when nothing is followed gradually. So we must also follow a gradual approach. So what this ATMP means? ATMP means assembly, testing, marking, and packaging. So it's not per se manufacturing of semiconductors, but all other things that has to do with assembly, testing, and packaging. So yes, there is very much latency when compared to manufacturing of semiconductors, but this is a very good way to start. It's a very good place to start. So we must start with ATMPs and then move on to acquiring existing fabs. Acquiring existing fabs, yes, all these fabrication units or manufacturing units are already present, but are not working efficiently. So we can acquire such fabs. Why we must acquire such fabs is that they have a reasonable price. They are technology intensive. They have this extensive technology that can be used, and all these things. They have highly trained laborers also. We can also use those to train other laborers, other skilled laborers when it comes to semiconductor manufacturing. So yes, we can use all these things. We can exploit these things by acquiring existing fabs and then move on to establishing new greenfield projects in the semiconductor industry. So this is the policy that we must follow when it comes to semiconductors, a gradualist approach. Thank you.